Hello and welcome to Tech Your Business. I'm Peter Banigo, your host, and our mission on this podcast is very simple to help businesses like yours use technology to stay ahead of the competition. Today, we're talking about something that can really change the game for your business, which is how to personalize your customer interactions at a large scale using AI. Okay, that might sound like a mouthful, but don't worry, just stick with me today. It's actually much simpler than it sounded, and you're going to learn a lot from it because we're lucky to have Venu Kanduri today joining us. Venu is the SVP of digital solutions at Solved Incorporated. Solved Incorporated is a company that's been helping enterprise and 4,500 clients from all over the world adopt cutting edge technology since 2011. So he's here to break down AI for us. He's here to break down how AI can help your business talk to each and every one of your customers in a way that makes it feel like you're talking to them personally, even if you have thousands of customers, even if you have millions of customers. So today we'll cover things like why treating customers as individuals is more important than ever in this current world. We'll talk about how new AI technology is making this possible for businesses of all sizes. We'll talk about how different simple, affordable ways you can start doing this in your own business, and also how to use customer data responsibly so you don't get in trouble. So I promise it sounded like a mouthful, but I promise that we'll leave you at the end of this episode with clear, practical ideas on how to make your customers feel loved, feel valued, and feel special without a huge budget. So welcome to the show, Venu.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Peter. Greetings, everyone. My name is Venu Kanduri. I'm the head of digital at Solve. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. The gray hair explains that. Uh, Over the last 17, 18 years, I've been working predominantly in the customer experience space. I've worked with customers, big and small, different industries, help them build digital marketing solutions to help provide more experiences to their customers that kind of drive growth and loyalty. So thank you again, Peter, for me having on the
That's
call. Yeah.
amazing. So now, in your opinion, now you've had 24 years of experience, so you've had a lot. So in your opinion, why has personalization become so important in business to consumer interactions today?
It's a great question to start with, right? And this question I have encountered several times over the last decade, I must say. So, in my 2.5 decades of journey in the industry, I've seen like several waves or revolutions, if you will, right? From the green screen to .com to the mobile revolution to cloud to digital and now to AI. Throughout all these things, technology is constantly being leveraged by brands to provide better experience to the customers. So there's always this customer in the center of universe for brands and the brands trying to engage the customers in a better way. Um, Also, over the last decade, the customers and their expectations are evolving a lot. Call it the digital disruption, different mobile devices, and how the customers are becoming more demanding. The concept of personalization has become an essential ingredient. So it's a combination of multiple things. One is the evolving expectations from customers that, hey, I want unique, personalized, tailored experiences for me. And it's also fair on their part because the amount of data brands have about customers these days is humongous, right? They know the historical, the behavioral, the clickstream data, and several other things. So it's important for brands to create those personalized experiences. Also, if you look at another dimension, ultimately the brands are looking for higher conversion, higher growth, loyalty from the customers. And for them, if these are important, they have to make sure that the experience are more relevant for their customers. And the last and the most important thing, personalization is important because that's how a brand differentiates from others. If there is one retailer in the industry, yeah, they can do whatever they want. But if you want to shop something today, you want to buy sneakers, you can go to 10 different websites and you want to see where the best experience is, where the best cost is. So it's pretty essential for brands to make sure they put personalization on the forefront and make sure those experiences are delivered to the customers in the best possible way.
Those are actually really, really great points, and I think any brand would appreciate those. But can you share a surprising statistic or maybe a fact about personalization that our listeners are not likely to know?
Yeah, typically when brands are engaging with customers, right, they focus more on certain standard business metrics like what's my top of the funnel, how long the customers are sticking to my website, what's my conversion rate, what's my cart conversion, things of these kind. Interestingly, what I've learned over a period of time, and this is working with some of the industry leading brands, what I've realized is about 91% of the customers, they would like to go with brands where they are given proper recommendations with relevant offers. To give an example, if I'm purchasing like a track shoes or something like running shoes, right, and my budget is, let's say, $150, I'm willing to pay that much money, but I don't want to pay for shipping, right? So when I go through this journey, the brand should understand to provide recommendations like here are different kind of shoes that you may want to prefer. But then when the customer comes to the cart, if they are provided with an offer that hey, if you cross $150, then your shipping is free. I think these kind of offers combined with recommendations would make customers make decisions much faster and increase their loyalty towards brands. So that's an interesting fact I've come across, and it's not like a unknown fact completely. There are brands who understand, and that's where the behavioral based emails are triggered. When you're sitting on a cart and you're not like really taking an action, there are brands that work upon like how do I trigger an email and go to the customer right with a proper offer. So I think that's an interesting fact. I would say that the brand should focus upon.
Okay, so now going from statistics, there are some for every concept, for everything. There is always parts of it that are misunderstood. There's always some parts where you have misconceptions. So, talking about personalization in business to consumer interactions, still, what are some common misconceptions you've noticed?
That's actually a good question, right? And it's one of my favorite questions too, because brands started believing that, oh, my experience is not personalized. That's why, we're in trouble. Let's get this thing done, right? So there are several misconceptions. Maybe I'll touch on the top 4 or 5 today. The first thing is brands believe that personalization will give them immediate results. That's not the case, right? I mean, it's a journey, right? It's not like today my experience has shifted and then I want to kind of like get engaged with brand immediately. So it's like a journey that brands have to define a strategy and then be willing to course correct that, right? That's a first misconception that I'm going to get immediate results. That's one. The second thing, personalization strategy is usually perceived as something for big brands and it is costly. Well, that's not the case, right? Whether you are a big or small brand, you can always personalize. The scale and the complexity matters here, right? Depending upon the kind of audience you have. And it is also not costly because yeah, you can build like a pretty strong and robust strategy by defining a new technology landscape and everything. But there are also some tools like AI driven platforms, CRM systems, Google Analytics and all that can help you personalize as well. So I think that's a second conception, that's a second misconception that oh, this is a costly thing or this is something that's not for us, right? So that's the second one I would say. The third thing and the most important thing is brands are always skeptical about asking customer for data, right? Because brands think that by me asking a question to a customer, am I getting too intrusive? Is the brand getting too creepy, right? These are the concerns that people have. But as long as the brands can give the confidence to me as a customer, reassuring that, hey, first thing, I'm capturing this data, and here is the purpose. We want to personalize your recommendations. We want to personalize your customer journeys, right? As long as there is relevancy and purpose, customers are willing to give. That's the first thing. The second one, it's brand's responsibility to help customers understand that the data is safe, right? I mean, it's compliant with the regional laws. It's compliant with the privacy laws. We are not selling your data to third party. There is consent management and all this good stuff. As long as the brands kind of invest into these kind of things, customers are willing to share their data, right? So I think those are the top three conceptions, misconceptions. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Those are the top three misconceptions in my view, which brands should
Okay,
focus
so
upon.
I think those are really good ones. expecting immediate results from personalization, thinking that it's
Yeah,
costly when it is not, and also being skeptical about collecting data from customers. That's
correct.
those are
Absolutely.
perfect. So now, going through your career, you said you've worked in the customer space for a while. What sparked your interest in this field of AI-driven personalization for businesses?
Yeah, I think that's a question like that a lot of people think about, right? Because AI kind of took it by storm. If you look at the different revolutions that we've seen in the industry that I mentioned some time back, all the way up to digital versus AI. AI is kind of making changes like every day, every hour, right? You see so much of like content on all the channels that you can think of, where you see all these things. Now, what sparked my interest, especially with this? So throughout my journey, I've worked with like different industries, different problem statements, and all. Retail has been my big area of interest because there's so much opportunity to try things for good reasons. There's not so much like regulations like what you see in the banking, financial services, healthcare, pharma, right? So that's you get a freedom here, but also with the freedom, you see the challenge of a pretty demanding customers. I mean, think of any brand like Tory Burch, Under Armour, Nike, or any retailer you can think of, like Target, right, for example, right? So they constantly look at how do I make the experiences much more better. It's not just about personalization, but it's about the overall customer journeys, right? So where I started like trying to leverage AI into this whole thing is, your traditional methods of personalization, whether they are processes, data collection, data processing, the tools and all, these have certain limitations, right? So, and if you look at the customer, their expectations from brands have been evolving on a pretty fast basis. Customers want to interact with brands through multiple touch points, the whole omni-channel experience and everything. So at some point, the traditional methods are struggling to keep up the pace of what the customers want in terms of personalization, because brands capture large amounts of data. They want to process, they want to granularize the whole personalized experience. It's very difficult for the traditional systems to stick with that. So that's where AI comes into picture, because AI versus traditional, AI is more proactive and traditional methods are more reactive. That's where I started liking this. The second thing, with AI, you can generate content that is personalized for the customer, whether it's copy, whether it's email campaigns, whether it's like real images or videos. These can happen pretty fast by AI tools versus like the traditional methods. And lastly, AI. The best part is so your customer is not always the same. The customer is shifting. Their thinking is shifting. Traditional methods cannot shift so fast. There's no real time personalization with traditional methods, but with AI, the best part with AI is like it can adapt very fast. It knows your customer, and as AI mindset of the thinking is shifting, AI thing shifts as well. So there's a constant learning and adaptation in AI. That's the best feature you won't get through traditional means. So and ultimately, like the ability to process the data at scale and with precision, that is something AI has demonstrated already, right? It has been demonstrating for quite some time. So I think these are the key factors when I keep them and look through a brand lens, that, hey, how can I provide more personalized, precise, scalable, and granular personalizations for my customers in this fast evolving world? AI is the answer, right? That's what sparked my interest. Yeah.
Amazing. So I know you've mentioned a couple of ways, like it being fast, it being real time and everything. And I know there has been an obsession with personalization right from the time of mail merge with the word processing documents and co. So are there any other ways where in which generative AI personalization differs from traditional personalization methods?
Yeah, we kind of touched this in the previous part a bit, but then typically, as I mentioned, traditional is reactive. In other words, when you as a customer go to a website and then you're interacting with a product page and then you dislike something and then you bail out, right? This data is captured by an analytical system, and then someone reviews this thing, and then the next time you make the changes. It's pretty reactive. Whereas with AI, because it's constantly feeds off behavioral data, customer historical data, transaction data, social media, and everything, the ability of AI to adapt with customer shift in thinking makes it proactive. So, in fact, it can predict what the customer would expect based upon their previous patterns, right? Makes it more proactive. That's the main difference I see. And as I mentioned, I think the ability to process the data. I mean, I would say the AI ability to process data is limitless today, right? We have not like
Yeah.
put a limit as such. But if it is traditional systems, you know exactly what's the point, where these are unable to react. I think that's the second one I see. And the last and the most important thing is AI's ability to engage with customer in a more natural way. Because when you're looking at traditional systems, I mean, there's a systemic approach, there's a defined approach, whereas AI kind of breaks those barriers. It kind of like changes its course based upon what the customer is looking for. I think those are the key differences what I see between a traditional versus an AI based personalization strategy throughout the customer journey.
Okay, so now in almost every of the questions you've mentioned data, and we all know that data is the foundation of good data. Let's say that good data is the
It
foundation
is.
of every working AI system. So now for AI driven personalization, what types of data are most valuable to make this work?
It's a good question. Actually, a little short story. Right? My son, he's like 14 years old. He was actually asking me, "What is this whole buzz about AI?" Right, and explain me. Right, what is the intelligence that I don't have that I need a machine for? Right. And I always believe, if I can explain something to my mom and my kids, I think that's where you do it, right? I mean, wives are always smarter than guys, so I won't even go there. Um, but I mean, typically, see, I'll give you a very real life example, right? You have a kid of yours that is growing, right? How would you enhance his intelligence or her intelligence? What you do is like, when you have your kid with you, every moment you try to educate them, right? Whatever they're looking at, you try to tell them, like, hey, here is a car, the car has wheels, the color is red, the sky is blue, there are birds flying. So there's a constant infusion of data that's available around you that you're telling them in a structured fashion, right? So you're looking at the data, you're structurizing it, and then you're like telling them, like, here is it, right, through a story or something. So similarly, for AI, generative AI to be successful, data is the foundation, it's the bedrock. Without that, AI is not effective, right? I mean, the kids, based upon the interactions they do, based upon the books they read, based upon the learning they do, they become more intelligent. AI is the same thing. It's a kid, right? You have to teach AI. So when it comes to personalization, right, the brands have to make sure that these elements of data are available to AI for it to be successful. And I could list about 10 different kinds, but I'll talk about the important ones, right? When it comes to personalization, because
Yeah.
it's in the retail context. The first important is about your customer, right? I mean, who's your customer, right? And this kind of gets into the territory of PII. We'll talk about in a bit. But then how do you make sure that you provide the customer information? But most importantly, how do you provide the behavioral data of the customer, right? In other words, what are the interactions the customer is doing with the brand? What are they clicking? What are they not clicking? What are they liking? What are they disliking, right? And this is not applicable just to a particular channel. It's an omni-channel world, so it could be a device, it could be like a language, it could be a locale. So all that behavioral data is important. The second thing is historic data. What do we know about this customer? What are their browse patterns? What did they purchase? What are their average cart values? What kind of like payment cards they used? All that good stuff. Then demographic data, which means who is this customer, what age range they are in, right? Their location data, like where do they live? Because I don't want to sell winter jackets for people who live in Florida, right? So this is important. The AI should know this thing. Um, outside this, there is some non-traditional data. Customer gives feedbacks, right? Customer share reviews. Customer write on social media. There is some customer data that is available from third parties. So if you look at all these things, these are the different data buckets or data sources that brands should actually provide to AI for it to weave a picture about the customer, or call it as customer 360, and make sure that the experience is like pretty unique, right? So I would touch upon one point from your previous question about personalization. You asked me a question about the difference between the
Yeah.
traditional versus AI. Traditional can actually go up to a segment and then provide personalization. With AI, with the scale at which we are dealing with, you can have personalization to the extent of an individual, right? So the personalization is so granular that I exactly know who Peter is, what does he like, what does he not like, and based on that, I can give the whole experience. So it's a combination of all these different data sources that brands should focus upon. And it's a journey. It's not required that you have to do everything in day one, right? But as long as you have a data strategy plan in place, I think brands will be successful.
Okay, so you mentioned different data buckets. You mentioned the historical data, demographic, third-party data, and earlier in the previous question answer, you mentioned that brands are skeptical about collecting customer data and looking at the landscape of the world generally since 2018 after the GDPR. It's actually logical that they are skeptical about collecting customer data because they don't know if they will get in trouble. So are there any privacy concerns that business owners should be aware of when implementing these personalization systems, considering we have privacy laws in the EU, we have them in Brazil, we have them almost everywhere?
Everywhere, yes. So yeah, that's a great question, and this is a question that is on every C-level exec's mind, right? Like, how do you make sure that the brand is trustable, right? So yes, I mean there are a lot of concerns, and these will continue to grow because there's more data available about every one of us, and then there's a constant worry in people's mind that how is this data being used, how is this data being saved, stored, shared, etc., right? So I'll list a few that the brands already focus upon, but it's good, for the users to know as well. Um, the first thing is obviously compliance with the privacy laws, right? So you talk about the GDPR, CCPA, and there'll be several other regional laws, right? So it's very important for brands to be aware because most brands are global in nature today. They're operating in different regions. It's very important for brands to know all these things, the local laws, the privacy laws, and make sure that these are complied. That's the first thing. The second thing is, there's something called cross-border laws as well. For example, there are brands that insist on if I'm managing your data, it stays in that particular region, right? So you don't want the data to be transferred between borders for obvious reasons, right? I don't want to double click on that in this call. We can do a separate conversation. But then the cross-border data, that's an important thing to look at. Outside that, consent management, it's an important thing too. So, and you would see that a lot in Europe. It's happening in North America also now. When you go to a website, when they capture data about you, these things come up like, hey, we want to capture your data.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Do you disagree? Right? So the customer has the opportunity to say, yes, I'm willing to agree, I'm willing to disagree. Now that has gone to a next level, right? So now if you look at these things, when you want to agree, you can actually choose what kind of cookies you want the data stored. So typically the customer doesn't have a situation where I would say just yes or no, but I can actually go into that and then select, which data I'm okay, which data I'm not okay. And then it's also important for brands to kind of give the opportunity for customers to opt in, opt out. I mean, do I want to receive these emails? Do I want my information to be shared or not? Especially there are brands that kind of mention that, hey, we want to share your data with third party to make the experience more relevant, right? To provide more recommendations. And customers can choose that, hey, I am willing to share this or not. So that's another thing. And most importantly, brands should constantly assure two things. One is they should assure that the data is safe, like what kind of best practices they follow in terms of encryption of data, right? Anonymization of data. And most importantly, if there's a data breach, we hear it every now and then. It's the brand should be transparent in telling customers that there is a data breach. Here is the impact, and here is what you need to know about what this could mean
Yeah.
to you, right? So if you look at these things, I mean, if I just put them into 4 or 5 categories, right? One is the compliance of the local laws. That's the first thing. The second thing is how do you make sure that the data is used to the minimized extent, right? What is the purpose of the data? What are you using? Are you sharing with people that I'm willing to share or not? The opt ins and the opt outs. And finally, the whole security of this, right? I think these are the different concerns that everybody have. I have as a customer every day because my information is in 10 different websites already. So as long as the brands kind of assure us that, hey, these are the things we follow, here are the challenges we are facing, here is how we're trying to resolving them, that gives customers confidence in the brands. That will increase brand loyalty, trust me. And then that makes me a more, what do you say, that increases my willingness to interact with the brand, and then definitely increase their revenue. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, the brand should be aware of the compliance of the local laws. They should use this data they get minimally. They shouldn't use what take what they don't need, and they should also ensure security of whatever they take from these end users. I believe if they take these points from you, they shouldn't be skeptical anymore about collecting data.
Yeah.
So
And again,
yeah.
one last thing, right? Say, I'm sure like most people know about these things. These are not new, but it's a good thing to renew these thoughts always because these are important. These are very critical for brand success. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any, I think for the listeners who might want to visualize or anything, do you have any case study of where this AI personalization has made a big difference?
Yeah, yeah. There are tons of stories, and as I mentioned, retail is my favorite space to work in, and personalization especially because that drives brand loyalty, growth, and success ultimately, right? So, yeah, there are a lot of stories. One thing that comes to top of my mind. This is a global retailer that we work with that operates in multiple regions, right, across the globe. So they had a challenge of customer conversion. To take a step back, the brand is pretty popular and they have a high acquisition rate. In other words, the customers like the brand. They come to the brand to understand what the brand is, to purchase the products they like and everything. But once the top of the funnel is kind of like healthy, the conversion from the top of the funnel all the way to conversion was not at the rate that the brand was expecting, right? That's where we were engaged. And then we usually operate in a model where consulting is tip of the spear. We do not want to tell the customer that, hey, technology is a solution, let's go build this thing, right? We want to kind of focus on what is the problem statement, what kind of business challenges you're having with in this context, and what are the measures of success if you want to like really turn this around, right? That's how we started the journey with them. And then what we realized is, once the customers start engaging with the brand, there's a combination of areas for improvement in the space of user experience, in the space of content relevancy, and the space of the pace at which the content is delivered to you, the speed of the website, etc. Right? So we took a consulting lens to begin with to see how can we improve the areas of experience, not just when you land, but throughout your customer experience. What kind of challenges the customers might be facing in terms of content relevancy, product that is coming out of the search, how the offers are being provided to them, and how's the whole interaction from start to finish. We took that aspect and then we provided like a roadmap to the customer, citing some areas for improvement in the space of user experience, content strategy, personalization through A/B testing, and then also some areas of SEO, performance, etc. Right. So it's a combination of these things, and this journey took about 3 to 4 months, right, where we were working on the solution, plus also we were working with the brand to understand how would we measure success, right, in terms of conversion, in terms of like revenue growth, etc. So this is one example where we start as consultants and then we kind of deliver the solution. And after 4 months of measurement of data, I must say the bounce rate of the customers, which means customers land on the website and then they dislike and they move out. The bounce rate kind of reduced in double digits, which is a good sign. And then the bounce rate reduction kind of improved the cart conversion, means the customer engagement with the cart and obviously purchasing, right, what they are adding to the cart, that increased by about 6 to 8%. So I think these were the two critical business metrics that the brand was looking at. And then we were able to show a path where there is a trajectory of growth. Now we are looking at 4 or 5 months of data. The holiday season is like right like in the next step, right? November is fast approaching. So we are very keen to see how this changes will impact, and we're pretty excited to see some positive
Wow,
results there.
wow, that's amazing. And those are actually amazing results to look at. So now for a business which maybe has a tight budget and is still looking at AI driven personalization for the business, what's one high impact strategy that you would recommend for them?
Yeah, so we discussed a brief about this, right? See, personalization is not just for big brands. It is not a costly thing. Um, as I said, it all depends on what's your strategy, right? I mean, if you're looking at building an overall scalable strategy and all, yes, you need some tools. You need to put a strategy in place. You need to implement change management, and it's a costly thing. But if you're a brand who fall into the small and medium business segment, you don't want to really invest a lot, but you want to give it a try and see how personalization can make an impact. What I would suggest is, like, focus on behavioral triggers, right? In other words, where do you lose your customer? You lose your customer in your cart, especially, right? I add to my cart, and then I see that, oh, we don't have this in stock. That will piss me off, and I leave. Or there is no free shipping. I might leave. So the cart abandonment is one of the key areas where you're losing your customers. So brands should think of, that is your behavioral trigger. Like, there's an abandoned cart for a day or the last 2 hours. How do I trigger an email immediately to the customer saying that, hey, we see that, like, you have not engaged with the cart in the last 2 hours. Here is like an opportunity for you to secure free shipping if you close the cart in the next 1 hour, right? So that is one thing. Let's say there are loyal customers who purchase constantly with the brand. How do you make sure that you engage with them continuously when there's a new product that is relevant to them? Send an email, tell the customer that, like, here is a new brand that might be, here is a new product in this particular line of brand that might be of importance to you. Take a look, right? Send them anniversary, gift vouchers or something. Give them an opportunity to register and get a 10% off. So email based personalization for behavioral triggers, I think that's a good start for small brands, because this is a low cost, highly effective solution that I've seen with brands. I mean, this kind of increases your brand loyalty. There's definitely an engagement of customer, and there's a conversion in the cart as well. So there's an ROI that you would see. I think that's where I would start for small and medium business segments who are looking at, I want to try personalization, but I don't want to invest too much time and money. Start with
Okay,
this. Yeah.
so I think your strategy, email-based personalization with behavioral triggers. And you said that would increase customer loyalty. And that brings me to the next question. Can you share an example of how, of an AI-powered, a creative AI-powered loyalty program?
Can Okay, yeah, sure. So I mean, AI, obviously we know, like, it's much more powerful. So let me touch upon, like, what AI can do that will make customers, like, increase their brand loyalty, right? The first thing is, obviously AI can help you provide those tailored, unique experiences. So it's more hyper personalized to me as a customer. And then with AI driven platforms, you can actually create personalized loyalty programs also, because loyalty programs today are pretty broad in nature, right? It's kind of like one size fits all kind of thing. So brands are slowly shifting. How can I create a more personalized loyalty program depending upon who you are, the segment you belong to? For example, if you're an avid runner and then you participate in marathons and all, and I'm a brand who sell products in that space, I want to make sure that I show you the products, I show you the personalization, not just in that space, but also even my loyalty. Like, you, when you run some 10Ks, you're running some marathons, how can I give you, like, loyalty into that? So there are brands like, Under Armour, for example, that also partner with other brands where, you kind of tie this data together, right? um, and at the same time, how do you make sure that the experiences are more secure? We touched upon, how the privacy and everything is important. So AI can play a key role in providing these unique experiences, personalized loyalty programs, more predictive analytics that will help in crafting personalized experience. I think that will make the customers tie with the brands more closely, and therefore the loyalty is increased. So the same example that I shared a bit ago, right? I mean, where we initially focused on the user experience, the content relevancy, and the performance. I mean, that is step one of this whole thing, because our focus was more on customer conversion and growth. But the very next step in that space as well is like, how do you kind of make sure that throughout these customer journey experiences, how do you make sure that the customer likes to engage with the brand more effectively and therefore drive loyalty? So the ultimate mantra, I'll tell you, a successful customer experience will drive loyalty automatically. There's nothing like you have to do specially for that. Make sure that the customer is taken care and customer starts loving you. As simple as that.
Amazing. So now for the listeners who have listened to this and they're inspired and they need to take something away from this episode, can you give us maybe three actionable tips that a listener can implement this week to start using
Yeah.
AI for personalization?
Yeah, we all love takeaways, right? When we listen to like, okay, fine, this is all great, but what can I do differently from today? The first thing I would say is know your customer better. That's the very first thing. I mean, this is a constant journey. Trust me. Even if there's a matured brand, I would still say try to know your customer much better, because previously customer engages with you at a brick and mortar store and then goes back and you're done. But now today the customer experience a brand that is told in 10 different places, right? I'll write a feedback on a social media. I may go to YouTube and do something, or I go tell customers word of mouth. So, knowing your customer through multiple sources, first, second, third party data, and making sure that you enhance the quality of your customer data that I mentioned. That's the first thing you want to start implementing, right? Big or small. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how do you mature in terms of protecting the customer identity within your ecosystem, right? We talked about the several laws, we talked about several kinds of data and all. How do you kind of like look at your ecosystem and say, you know what, I mean, maybe we can improve our consent management better so that the customers trust in giving data more. Maybe I can make my experiences much better so the customer is willing to share data than what they're doing today, right? So give that assurance to the customer. So you're kind of giving them a confidence that you're a brand that they can trust in sharing their data. And the third and the most important thing, which is also the topic of this thing, definitely start leveraging AI. AI is the game changer. It is that one powerful unstoppable like revolution that we cannot like really stay away from. So certainly start like looking at how you can leverage AI. There are definitely lots of information. There's every professional service that you can think of will talk about this. But I mean, look at brands and look at partners who can actually hold your hand and be that friend of yours in this journey. As an example, we work with multiple brands in evangelizing what AI is like. Forget about like using AI, but let's understand what this whole buzz about AI is. And then we tell the customers, here are some use cases within your brand that you think should be leveraged AI. And then we help put a roadmap, right? So, and I'm not saying, you have to go with salt. I mean, we have a model in place. We have an AI offering through which we partner with customers in educating, in identifying, and then in building an AI factory, right? So, yeah, just to summarize the three things: know your customer and ensure that everything is safe, the data, etc., and then make sure that you start leveraging AI, because that's one thing that you don't want to miss. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
so know your customer, make sure everything is safe, data and everything you take from the customer, and also ensure, very important, ensure that you leverage AI in your business or else you're going to get left behind. Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to left behind. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so now let's talk about looking to the future. Looking ahead, what exciting developments in AI personalization are you excited about? Should business owners be prepared for? And also, what future do you see for AI personalization?
That's the toughest question. So AI is like evolving every hour. I'm sure in the last 1 hour, something could have been posted on LinkedIn or somewhere. You just go and search something new, right? That the brands can leverage, the industry can leverage. So I think there's a constant evolution that you would see between the LLMs and different tools that they are there. So I think it's pretty important for brands to kind of make this as their key strategy, right? For I won't say for FY25, but starting now, right? Going back to your question, what are the three things you should do? Start looking through the AI lens. But I mean, some of the interesting like changes that we are seeing is like the ability for these uh, large language models, like the way they are evolving, the ability to process data. I think that is something that will help the brands to kind of process large amounts of data and provide more personalized experience to your customers. The second thing is there is a whole lot of technology stack or tools that is kind of evolving on day-to-day basis about how do you kind of create content, create assets, create videos in real time. So ability to leverage these to provide more real-time experience to your customer, that's the important thing. That's a trend. And also focus on ethical and responsible AI. Like how do you make sure that you don't go off the guard completely, right? I think that that's something that's evolving on daily basis. You see a lot of like content that is coming in this space. I think these are some exciting stuff. The pace at which these things are evolving, the tools that are helping brands to leverage, and then this whole concept of ethical and responsibility. I think those are some interesting trends. I constantly keep my eyes and ears open, and we'll be sharing right as part of like our thought leadership to our customers. That is one. And then what I foresee right over the next, I'm skeptical to say over this next 6 to 12 months because AI may move much faster. But what I'm seeing is, from an engineering standpoint, there's a lot of AI already. Like take Copilot as an example, there'll be a lot of like disruption you'll see in that. But outside that, for brands, from a customer experience standpoint, I think adopting AI, small or big, into your customer experience strategy is the most important thing I would look for as an executive, right? And that's what I constantly tell my partners and my customers, and that's what I would focus upon.
Amazing. So those are really good points. So now for listeners who want to continue this conversation, we've been talking for about 40 minutes now. So yeah, and
Yeah,
and like
let's
you
see that.
said, there's always something new about AI every minute. So we can talk for the next one, we won't be done. But so for listeners who want to continue this conversation, who want to learn more about personalizing with AI, personalizing at scale, for those who want to benefit from the different benefits you mentioned, customer loyalty, increased conversions, and things like that. What's the best way they can reach solved?
So yeah, I mean, I think we are always open to share our thoughts through different channels where we tell like what's new in AI space, how does it help brands, etc. But then we are pretty open to have a conversation. We strongly believe in ideation and brainstorming because it helps both sides. We understand like what your business needs are, and then we can try to share our thoughts too. So the best way would be, if you're interested to engage with us, certainly reach out to us through our website where you can actually request a meeting, or you can reach out to me directly through my LinkedIn, or you can email me at vkanduri@sol.com. Um, the best way we engage and the model that is successful, I'll tell you, right? I mean, the most important thing is, you come with your set of questions that, hey, we want to understand the basics of AI. We are happy to engage that way. Or you say, we are matured in understanding the basics of AI, but we're looking at brainstorming what kind of use cases are AI eligible. We are happy to have a conversation on that. Or if you're looking at how do we implement change management strategy inside our organization, we are happy to talk to that. So we are happy to schedule a conversation, maybe an hour, with the key topics that you're looking for, and then we can take it from there.
Amazing. So listeners can reach you on your website, through LinkedIn, through email with their questions on these topics we talked about, and can continue from there. So
Happy to engage.
that's
Yes.
that's amazing. So thank you so much, Venu, for coming on the Tech Your Business podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a great conversation. And actually, it's also like looking at myself, like what is happening, right? As I said, things change pretty fast. So this is a good refresher for me also individually, but really happy to be on this one and looking forward for more. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the listeners, this is episode 107 of the podcast. So if you've learned something from this episode, share it with anyone who you know is interested in learning how to scale their business with AI, to, to scale their personalization with AI.
Game changer,
So,
guys. Thank you.
yeah. So we have this is 107. We have 106 others. Scroll through, listen through, and keep taking your business. Bye for now.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.